Nope. Thank you, Linda.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. It's on. I'm just not close enough to it. I'm walking around. Thank you all for coming. I'm so excited to have you here. Please feel free to keep grabbing food. We're just going to get started with a few speeches. And I have a few things to say to my husband. Most of them good, but I mostly just have some random stories, things that just popped in my mind and I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about celebrating his 15th. I can stand closer to the mic. I can hold the mic too if I need to. Is that better? If I hold it here?
No.
Is it on now? Yes. Somebody hit the mute button. It wasn't me. Anyway, so I have a few things I want to just share about not only Tim's time as a pastor, but also a little bit of a look at our time in St. Louis while he attended seminary, which was technically before the anniversary we're celebrating, but he had to do seminary in order to be here. And since I was the only one in this room that was there with him, I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that has those stories. So my thoughts are kind of in chronological order, but not necessarily. So starting out, summer Greek was really our first experience with seminary. So when the pastors go to seminary, they have to learn Greek and Hebrew. If they've gone through like a Concordia system, a lot of times they've learned those languages already, but Tim had not. So he got to do summer Greek, which is a 12-week intensive where you learn Greek. You learn to read, you learn to write, you learn to kind of hear. But it was a little bit intense. So we got married in May. We had a week-long honeymoon. We came back to Minnesota for my oldest nephew's graduation, his younger brother's graduation, and then we moved to St. Louis, and a week later he started Greek. So it was about 2 weeks from wedding to classes starting, which was a little bit intense. But I can remember that summer, first summer married, we're away from all of our family and friends, and he was just like in the books. I mean, I'd come home from work and he's studying, which was awesome, but it was a lot of studying, a lot of flashcards, and a lot of dreaming in Greek for him. I can remember just like, he's like, I need to stop studying. I started dreaming in Greek again. But one of the fun traditions, one of the first big traditions we had at seminary is once you take your final test in Greek, you jump in the fountain. And a lot of the wives and the families come and watch and take pictures as the guys swim in the fountain. And so that was just a lot of fun. That was when I got to meet a lot of the wives and meet a lot of the guys that he had been talking about. It was just kind of a fun time to enjoy together. Our seminary years were wonderful for the most part. We had a few car breakdowns, but you know that's how it goes. The other thing I want to tell you about specifically from seminary is our vicarage assignment. So your vicarage is basically your internship. You spend 2 years doing seminary classes, and then you get sent out for a year of vicarage or internship at a congregation, usually somewhere in the US. And then you come back to seminary for a year of studying. So, as part of the vicarage process, you fill out lots of paperwork about your experiences you've had and what you want to experience, what you're looking for, what you're not looking for. And even though it wasn't my job, there was still a lot that we discussed because I had to move too. And so even though we were both born and raised in Minnesota, we planned to come back to Minnesota or at least close. And so we were like, send us anywhere. We want somewhere completely different. We've done the small churches, we've done the Midwest, send us anywhere. Send us far, please send us far. And so you find out your vicarage assignment during a church service is kind of like graduation, where the guys walk across the front. And so as Tim's walking up, I'm sitting in the pew, and I hear, Tim Heineke, St. Paul Lutheran Church, Decatur, Illinois. Illinois! I mean, I can remember sitting in the pew like, what? We said anywhere, anywhere. We wanted to go. We had done the Midwest. Please, can we go somewhere? But it turned out to be a huge blessing. We were in a huge congregation. They had 5 worship services every weekend, including an off-site worship service at a local college. There was around 15 paid staff members, which was a very big change. And they worshiped about 800 people every weekend. So even though our initial thought was, really, they stuck us back in the Midwest, it was just an incredible experience. And we learned a lot, and Tim learned a lot. He had a couple of great pastors that were just wonderful role models for him during that year. So I'm very thankful that we were kept in the Midwest. Our first kitchen table, when we moved to St. Louis, we got it out of a barn at somebody's house. I don't even know who it was, some friend of Tim's parents. It was gorgeous. It was white painted wood, and it had a blue tile laid into the top, but it was heavy because it was a tile top. And it was never fully stable. So the first 2 years we had it, it had to have at least one wall to lean against in order to stay stable. And then by the time we started year 3 and moved to our vicarage congregation, it actually needed 2 walls to hold it steady, and even that was not enough. But we made it through with that. Right before we left St. Louis for good, I was thrift store shopping, and I ended up finding a absolutely gorgeous kitchen table, wooden. It had 2 full inserts and 6 chairs that matched, and they were all in fantastic condition. All of it for $75. And I was like, I want this table. And Tim was like, do you realize we're moving 3 states away? But he gamely agreed that we could not pass up a deal, and he found room for it in the truck for me. He has always been so willing to do everything he can to make my life better and easier. He's not only a wonderful pastor, but a wonderful husband and father as well. As a side note, he can pack a vehicle to the absolute brim in the most efficient way possible. All those years of playing Tetris really paid off. Pastor Tim has been called a lot of things, all of them good, but some of my favorites came from preschoolers. So when you're in your vicarage or your internship, you use the title vicar instead of pastor, so most of us called him Vicar Tim. But a lot of the preschoolers at the congregation didn't quite understand that concept, so they tended to call him Pastor Vicar, which I just loved. And then our first congregation had a preschool, and several of the children there were known to call him either God or Jesus. There have been a lot of baptisms over the years, which is one of my favorite things to watch him do, because I can just see the love he has for those little babies. My 2 favorite baptisms were obviously the baptisms of my children. Watching their dad hold them in their baptismal gowns and welcome them to the family of God was just incredibly special. And I will never forget, during Lila's baptism, as he dried her head, she sighed contentedly. And it was right into the mic, so it was really loud. But it was just, I am still fully convinced that she knew she was safe in the arms of both her heavenly and her earthly father in that moment. Pastor Tim has attended 5 youth gatherings as a chaperone. Is that right?
I think so.
I'm pretty sure that's right. Okay. So the youth gatherings happen every 3 years. That's what they just got back from. They're typically about 5 days long, and it is exhausting. I believe, if I've remembered correctly, his average over the years of going has been about 22,000 steps per day, or about 11 miles. Typically in very hot, often humid conditions, like Texas, or most recently, New Orleans. But he loves it. He loves connecting with the youth. He loves watching their fire for Jesus. His sense of humor allows each group he takes to have as much fun as possible, but his care and his planning allow them to get as much out of it as they can. Youth gatherings are not my thing. I do not like that many people together for that long. And I don't do well with constantly shifting plans. Not for me. But I do love seeing the faces of the youth as they come back and hearing the stories and knowing how much fun they have had, but also seeing it from Tim's perspective and hearing how much fun he has enjoying the children of his congregations. This next one, thankfully it's been a few years since he's done this, but Tim has done about 8 polar plunges over the years to raise money for previous youth gatherings. For those who are unaware, Minnesota polar plunges typically happen in January, and a few chunks of ice are cut out of the middle of a lake, and then people jump in the hole, willingly, in January, often in a swimsuit. Pure insanity, no thank you. I always appreciated getting the "I didn't die" phone call or text after they jumped, because I wasn't able to go. We had young children at that time. But I very vividly remember one year, it was either the second or third year that he did the plunge. He did it with one of the youth from our previous congregation. And not only did they jump together, but they decided to make a challenge out of it to see who could stay underwater the longest. I think they both made it about 10 seconds. I don't remember, and I didn't ask him about any of this, so there's some of this that's a little foggy. I think they both made it about 10 seconds before they surfaced, but Tim didn't really remember anything the rest of that day. It was not good, so they did not do that challenge again. He did do a few polar plunges after that, and to me, that's true dedication to your youth, to be willing to jump in freezing cold water. No, thank you. Now the dreaded word, COVID. As much as 2020 was a mess for all of us, I want to make sure you're all aware of how much extra time and effort Tim put into making sure New Life still have the resources and knowledge to take care of themselves, both physically and spiritually. He would slog through reading the updated mandates for the state, put together a summary for the elders and for the congregation, only to have the mandates change, sometimes the same day, and he'd have to start all over. He had to preach and teach to an empty room for months, still trying to show enthusiasm and connect with his people through a screen. And even once we were able to start coming back together, he had to make hard decisions to keep balance, keeping people safe with allowing people to connect. On top of that, he had his responsibilities as a husband and a dad, and made sure he was taking care of the kids and I as much as he could. I truly do not know if we would have survived those months at home without his calm nature and his ability to diffuse situations. I want to assure you, before I get into this, Pastor Tim does not currently have a call anywhere but New Life. And we have no plans for that to change, but calls are a part of ministry. Tim has had inquiries over the years from a lot of other congregations, including churches in New York, Florida, and Arizona. But thankfully, God has chosen to keep us in Minnesota. Our previous congregation had a pastor wall where they had large portraits of each pastor hanging in the fellowship area. Under each picture was a plaque with the pastor's name and his years of service to that congregation. When Tim's plaque arrived somewhere around, I think it was like 2012, it said, Pastor Tim Heineke, 2010 to 2017. It was not supposed to have an end date. The staff got an absolutely huge kick out of it. During their first staff meeting of 2017, Tim brought the plaque in and said, I guess this is the year you're getting rid of me. 2 weeks later, he got a phone call from a man named Wayne Gartman stating that New Life Church in Hugo, Minnesota was extending him a call to serve as their pastor. When we came to visit, it really clicked for both of us. And we walked out of this building that first day knowing that God wanted us here. And as much as we loved our home, our congregation, our friends in Park Rapids, the Lord was clearly calling him here. And I'm so thankful he did. And the last thing I want to talk about is the people. We have met a lot of people over the years and have been abundantly blessed to be part of loving, welcoming congregations. Tim's heart is filled with love for the people God has entrusted to his care, and it shows. He loves to visit, and he can make conversation with pretty much anybody. He loves sharing about all that God has done for us. We are truly so blessed to have him as our pastor. Thank you.
I get to follow that up. So, Pastor Tim came on board in 2017. And closer. Okay. And I believe you're